Welcome to the Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical, and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.
Oh, welcome to the show. This is going out live on Mintwave Radio. You can just simply ask Alexa or go to mintwave-radio.com. Or if this is via podcast, again, go to the same website. You'll be able to download the app for Apple and Android. Feel free to subscribe to any of the podcasts on our network. At the moment, there's about 24. So today's episode is 156. And today we have Cindy Ames, who is a mindset coach. And today we're going to be talking about empowering women to live optimal lives. Now, I'm your host, Karen Roberts, helping coaches and therapists to get their message heard to the people who need to hear it. Now, Cindy is more than just a mindset coach. She is a catalyst for change, helping professionals and entrepreneurs tap into their inner strength and achieve greater happiness and fulfillment. With her optimal living formula, Cindy guides her clients on a path to optimal well-being by focusing on the interconnectedness of the mind, emotions, and body. When she's not empowering others to reach their full potential, you can find Cindy indulging in her passions for reading, spending time with her beloved grandkids, that's not possible, or exploring the world through travel. So welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate being here.
And now first, come on, grandmother. That doesn't seem possible. You look absolutely fabulous. So,
Thank you. It's like nice. The camera's a little bit of a distance and the glasses hide the wrinkles. No, I love having grandkids. That's my reward for having 3 children. I get to have these beautiful 3 grandchildren, and they live just down the street from me. So that's even better.
Wonderful. So first of all, before we get started on the topic for today, if you'd like to share with the audience a little bit more about your story and how you came to be doing what you're currently doing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So the last 11 years or so, I worked in corporate, and in that, I worked in senior living industry in the United States, and I was in learning and development. And so I started as a trainer, a sales trainer. And as I progressed, I ended up leading a training team. I was the national director of learning and development for a senior living company. And what that simply meant is that I would create trainings for different departments in the company, and I would typically I facilitated sales trainings and leadership trainings. Within my role, I also did coaching. And so at a particular point in time, I talked to the person I reported to, and I said, I have a passion for coaching. I've been doing it for years, and I want to get certified and bring this to the company so we can have this resource, a needed resource in corporate culture, I believe. And she was like, fabulous. I was just literally thinking this week that this person would benefit from having a coach. And I'm like, great. And so I started in, 2021, I think it was. I started on the studies to be a certified coach. And that was about June. And we had started having layoffs. And COVID really impacted senior living, as you can imagine. And so the whole company had a series of layoffs that year. And by September, I was made redundant. And so I was like, I am passionate about this coaching, and my training was in emotional intelligence. So I got certified as an emotional intelligence coach, and I got certified by the International Coaching Federation. And as I progressed through that and created my coaching business in January of last year, I really was struck by mindset. And so that really became my focus, because I myself experienced the benefit of knowing and understanding when I have my thoughts in order, if you will, or in such a way that they get me results. I get results. And now I share that with my clients, and my clients, I literally see their lives turn around because of just simply how they change their thoughts, how they change their mindset. And I have a tool that I use with my clients so that they could get the results they want in life. During the time I was working corporate, there were times of overwhelm and burnout and people pleasing as a part of my nature, as perfectionism. And I really learned how to manage those aspects through my coach training and the different experiences and training that I had. And what I did was I came up with a formula, as you mentioned before, the formula for living optimally, or I call it flow sometimes for short, because that's just cute. And it reminds me of the ocean. And I love the ocean. The waves come in and the waves come out. And that's how we are in our lives, right? We have this rhythm. And so I created 4 pillars in this coaching program. One is managing your thoughts, navigating your emotions, nourishing your body, and then the last one is moving your body. Those 4 pillars changed my life around so that I have ease, flow in my life, I have joy in my life, I no longer have burnout. I work, and that provides joy for me. And I still get hired to do instructional design. I still get hired to do training facilitation. I'm a conference speaker. I get to do all the things, Karen, which is just fabulous in my mind.
Wonderful. So, isn't it interesting that something that to some could have come as a complete shock and could have brought you really down, facing redundancy, actually, for you, it sounds like from what you've just shared there, that just actually came at perfect timing because this
Yeah.
meant this was the time for you to grow your wings
Yes.
and off you've flown. So
Yes.
wonderful.
And what's really interesting as I look back, I remember thinking when I was working corporate that the last year, I remember thinking, gosh, I'm really bored. I'm just like, I did the big things that I wanted to do. I achieved those big goals that I wanted to achieve. And just, I was really bored. And the universe listens to us. That is what I
Ah,
learned. The universe listens to us. And so to support me, because I believe the universe always has my back, to support me, the universe said, okay, we're done with this job, because I never would have left the job by myself. I was making 6 figures. I was very comfortable. I knew the people. I believed in the product, right? I'm a giver. And so in senior living, there's lots of opportunity to give. I never would have left. But the universe said, there's something more for you. Let me show
mm,
you. And so when I became redundant, I was just like, okay, let's move. Let's make it happen. So that I just find that to be terribly interesting that
ah.
I can see that in my life, the universe taking a part
Yes,
of.
yes. And but everybody could have that mindset, couldn't they? That
Oh,
this is the issue. This is just proof that it can be so easy to be focused on that door that's just closed, as opposed to, okay, changing your mindset and looking for
yeah.
a door that's about to open. And
Mhm.
that the only difference there is a flip in mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the ability to pivot, the ability to be flexible. And I think that goes to a growth mindset. I don't know what the answer is yet. The yet allows you to have that growth mindset. And I think that's what's so important. I don't, one of the things that helps me a lot is because when I started my business, there was a lot of uncertainty. I didn't know exactly what to do. And when I have that emotion uncertainty come into it, I talk to it and I say, hey, what's going on? And I feel the emotion and I name it. And then I'm like, what's going on? What are my thoughts? And uncertainty is just your brain's way of saying, I'm scared and I want to protect you. Our brain is fear biased. We know that. And so if it doesn't know something, it's going to raise its red flag. All I had to do was circle back to it and say, it's okay. I've got this. I know you're scared, but we're going to figure this out. We have resources. And so one of the
Wow.
things that was really helpful for me is my daughter, Madison Ames photography, or Madison Thompson photography. She has this beautiful business. She's about 5 years ahead of me. And so all the things that she learned, she was able to help me navigate. And so I never felt like I was terribly alone in my journey. And I offer that for everybody. They might not have a daughter, but you know what they do have? They have a friend named Google. They have a friend named YouTube. And just about anything you want to do, you can find or figure out how to do on Google or YouTube, right?
Absolutely. I was only
Yeah.
doing it myself this morning because there was something that came up within my website and I wasn't sure how to do it. And this is the thing. I think this is what a lot of people don't understand, that we live in such amazing times. We really have
Hmm.
everything that we need at our fingertips. Or you need to reach out to a coach that can
Yeah.
point you in the right direction, because yeah, you're so right, there is no need to be stuck. In fact,
Mm-mm.
really being stuck is a choice
Hmm.
these days, because we do have so many things around us, so many tools at our
Hmm.
disposal. But the big difference is having that, like you said, either a growth mindset or a closed mindset. So you
Yes.
are empowering women to live lives, to live their optimal lives. So with
Yeah.
this, I love it that you're bringing everything together here. So it's more of a holistic approach. So it's not just business, it's the mindset part of it,
Yeah. Well,
nutrition as well.
yes, because everything, we're a whole person. And so I want to look at us holistically. So my mind, right? That's how I'm processing the thoughts. I'm filtering my experiences, the circumstances around me, then my emotions. What am I feeling? By being in contact with my emotions and connecting to them, I feel more successful. I feel more confident. And then when I use high quality foods to nourish my body, I have greater energy. I have more sustainable energy. And as a younger person in my 20s and 30s, I utilize sugar a lot. I utilize chocolate and candy a lot to help me get that energy. And then finally, what I realized is that is not sustainable energy. And I would go up and I'd crash. I'd go up and I'd crash. And that in itself impacted my moods. So I had a lot of things going on. And once I realized that eating whole foods, eating plant based foods, it really sustains me and enables me to do the things that I want. And then also moving my body. And I used to be a fitness trainer, and people would hire me to create weight routines and so on to help them get stronger, and I loved it. And what I found out, and I'm in my 50s now, and my late 50s, and when I found out is that I don't need to do that high intensity workouts that I used to do to get results. I can walk and I you can't see it, but over here I have 5 pound weights and I just use my weights. I do squats, I do lunges, I do those types of things. Those types of things can help sustain my body. It doesn't have to be this hard press in the weight room. If that's what you like doing, great. There was a time I loved doing that. I was hardcore in weightlifting. I'm not that way anymore. And I'm still taking care of my body because we need the cardio for our heart and lungs, and then we need the weights for our bones and our bones and our muscles, right? So that, especially as women, that we don't get osteoporosis, that heart disease, any of those things, we can actually help to prevent those by taking care of ourselves. And by doing those things, we can live an optimal life. And I
Mm.
just mean an optimal is like your best life, whatever that looks like. But it is a life that has ease, it has flow, it has joy in it because you have a foundation for with which to accelerate from and excel.
And this is it. And it is just a shame that There are so many things that is so segmented. And as you say, this is all going to have a knock-on effect to everything that you do, not just
Yeah.
business, relationships, health. The whole thing is going to be looked at from the whole person. And as you say, it does start with mindset.
Yeah.
I know
Mhm.
we can't just stay meditating and manifest at will. I don't think yet. I haven't met anybody that, well, I don't know. Actually, I might have met somebody that can sort of do that. But
It said, I was just reading this morning the different laws. It's the law of action, right? You do the manifestation, the attraction, and then you couple that with action. You have to do that too. It's not
is
just,
that missing piece?
yes, yes, exactly.
Ah,
And one of the
and
things, go ahead.
yeah, go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, one of the things that served me well was by hiring a coach. So I have a couple of coaches and I have a study program that I do. And so I am working on myself every day so that I can take that information and that knowledge that I gain and share that with my clients so that I am better able to show up for them in their space when we have our coaching calls. So I
Love it.
think that's, yeah, really
I
important. A coach makes a huge difference in a life.
I think that's massively important. I think
Mm,
every coach needs a coach. And if they don't,
yes.
that's almost saying that they know it all. I think we all need help at some
Mm,
point. And I've had different coaches to help me at different stages
yes.
of my journey. And
Yes.
yeah, if you want to figure it out, and I don't know why, especially as women, we tend to think we can do it by ourselves. We
Right.
can deal with the family, we can deal with the food, we can deal with the housework, we can deal with the business. We don't need help, but we all need help.
We all need help. I was just talking with a client Monday, and she was saying, "Oh my gosh, I had suggested something for her to think about and what if it would serve her." She goes, "Oh my gosh, why didn't I think about that? Why didn't I figure that out?" And I'm like, "And why did I need a coach to show this to me?" I'm like, "Wait a minute. Let's change that perspective a little bit. How about if we looked at, oh my gosh, how brilliant you are. How brilliant you are that you knew you needed a coach to level up, that you got a coach to help serve you, to open your eyes to different things. How smart you are that you did that, yet you made that choice."
And there you go. It's just flipping the
Yes,
mindset thing again, going back to the mindset. Because
yes,
again, it can just be because it can be a very lonely place, but working by yourself behind your computer. And sometimes it's very easy to be blinkered. And sometimes you need someone, even if it's just to bounce ideas around, or even sometimes not even to get an answer from your coach by verbalizing your
yes,
thoughts rather than holding them up here. Sometimes that gives you the answer in itself because it's sorted it out. So there are
yes.
so many benefits to having a coach.
Hmm.
Accountability, not just the knowledge that the coach brings in and of itself, but there are lots of other beneficial things going on there. So
Yeah.
with regards to mindset, so how specifically,
Hmm.
how is this going to really change somebody's results by just switching their mindset?
Yeah, great question. So I have a tool that I use for myself and I use with my clients, and I simply call it the model. And in that tool, and I got to preface this by, my brain likes actionable, doable things. I enjoy talking rhetoric, and when I want to go to apply something, I need to have steps. That's just how I work best. This tool really helps with that. So I can plug in a thought I can't. If I want to do something, there's something I want to do, that's my circumstance. I have a thought I can't. And then what happens is I have a feeling from that. So if I think I can't do it, I feel disempowered. I feel uncertain. I feel incapable. And what do I do and don't do if I feel that way? Because we know actions drive behaviors. Then simply, I likely don't show up to do it. And maybe I buffer with social media because I don't want to do it. And what's the result? The result is I can't do it. Okay, now if we shift, and one of the things we have to realize is that our brains might not take a leap with us from I can't to I can. So what we want to do is add a bridge thought in there. So it could sound something like, I can't as of right now. I can't, and I have resources. I can't, and I might be able to figure this out. And what that does, that bridge thought gives us a little crack in the brain to be able to say, oh, maybe. And then when I do the same model, I can't do it and I have resources. That thought can lead to curiosity. Who might be my resources? How interesting. And then I go into what action steps I take. I reach out to somebody I know. I Google, like we talked about before, I Google or I YouTube it. And then because I thought I have resources, the resources told me what to do.
Love
Because,
that.
right? Because I went through that pattern, then the next time when I think I can't, my brain's open a little crack, remember? Maybe my brain will say, I think I can, or it might be possible that I can. I get closer to the thought of I can, which gives me far different results. I can, I'm empowered, I take ownership, and I do the thing I want to do, and I get the results I want.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
So it's fascinating because I spoke at a women's luncheon a couple weeks ago, and I had this up on the PowerPoint, right? I had it on the screen, and it was clear. You could see dramatically, here it is with this thought, here's your results with this other thought. And that's just exciting. Now, what the coach does, the coach sometimes helps you to, when you're new at using this process, can help you to figure out how to do it, to ask you the questions, to elicit the responses, to fill in the blanks, and to help you with that practice so that you get good at it. That's important
Brilliant.
to have that.
That's it, isn't it? Everything takes practice, and this is the
Yeah.
thing. People want it now, and if they try
Yes.
it once and it didn't work, no, keep doing it, because it just sounds like you're basically working with your subconscious to actually work for you to come up with ideas rather than a statement and it just shutting you down, because it will. By again, it's asking you questions, and then that to me is another thing, brings in another thing, because simply by asking yourself a question is bringing you into the present moment.
Yes.
Which is where your power lies, so that you can come up with an answer. And so that really is going to help anybody overcome anything. There really is no such thing as can't, isn't it? Unless
Right.
that's what you're telling yourself.
Yes.
And then, your mind, your subconscious mind likes to be right. So it will prove it to you.
Yeah.
So it's so empowering to realize that just by changing the vocabulary that we're using, it can have a knock-on effect to changing our complete results.
Yeah.
And it sounds too simple to be true, but it is what it is, right?
It is true. And we know it because science has explored the brain. And there's a thing called neuroplasticity, which simply means that new neural pathways can be formed. So when I have an old thought, all that means is that I have a thought that I thought long enough that it's now a strong neural pathway in my brain. You could also call it a habit. And oftentimes those old thoughts come from our families of origin or when we're a young person, and we think it's our truth. So as an adult, as we get older, what's really important is to look at those paradigms, another word for those old thoughts, and to see how well is that serving us. And if it's not, that's the opportunity to create a new neural pathway, a new thought. And then what the opportunity is to repeat it over and over again, because we want to strengthen that new thought, that new neural pathway, so that the old one has less volume, it has less control. And then what we do when that old thought pops up, because it will, it's been a paradigm of ours for 30, 40, 50 years. It's strong. We could say, oh, shh, I'm not thinking that way any longer. Shut it down. You've got to do that. And then you pick up the new thought. Now I'm thinking this. And you redirect your mind to the new thought. Again, you're building that new neural pathway. So it's beautiful science of our brain that we know this stuff works.
And it really is. as you say, the science is being brought to what I call the woo-woo, because it's all
Yes,
woo.
right?
Yeah, it's all woo-woo, but we're just now catching up and realizing.
Yes,
And I think people had an idea, but it is
right.
wonderful that now there is real scientific proof to this.
Yes.
And like you, as I was from the fitness industry, and we know we've had this discussion, we can't just go to the gym and expect this body transformation after the first workout, the first time we lift weights. It takes time. Just as I suppose these, in a way, they are our mental muscles, they're
Yes.
these are our mental muscles that we need to strengthen. And the only way we can strengthen them, just like in the gym with our body, is that you have to be consistent. And so you have to practice that action. So just as you said, practicing that if these thoughts or emotions come up, being aware of it, I suppose, is step one. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
going within and asking yourself questions. Don't worry. Nobody will watch. Nobody will think you're a crazy person for asking yourself questions.
Right. I do it.
Nobody
I do
has
it
to
all the
say.
time. I kind of laugh at it. I'll tell people, okay, I talk to my brain. I'm just going to
Yeah,
let you know. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. You're fine. Don't worry
yeah.
about it. I got this. I tell my brain that often.
Oh,
Nothing
oh, I
has
love it.
gone wrong. My brain wants to wig out. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, we don't need to do this. Nothing's gone wrong. It's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love your physical aspect. It's like you go to the gym and you want to strengthen and you want to build up your biceps. You do bicep curls. That's the name of the exercise. You do repetitions. You'll do 12 reps. Same thing with my brain. How many reps? It's just that repetition to reinforce that thought, that new neural pathway. I do it over and over again. Same thing. Same
It
thing.
is. It's exactly the same thing going on to the body as with the mind. And I
Yeah.
think when people realize this truth, that you spend money going to the gym, you spend money, how many people spend money buying a year's membership, don't actually go. That's a
Uh-huh.
whole other thing. But yet, yes, this is, if you want change and if you want results, it's a
Yes.
case of, yeah, you're going to go to the mental gym. Well, that sounds
Yeah.
funny.
Oh,
That sounds a
that's
bit
true.
negative.
The mental
But it
gym,
is, isn't
right?
it? So,
Let's do
we've got to
our
go to the mental gym. We've got to
exercises,
do
our reps.
yeah. So for you, with regards to mindset, I was going to ask you what your morning ritual will be, because we know how powerful morning rituals can be for people, especially for things like this, for almost resetting and starting off on the right foot. Because as you said, things are going to go in the flow when you are in the right
Yeah.
mindset. So if you get up stressed or because you're
Mhm.
running late, that's not a good start position to even get any kind of results in your day, which is why mindset is just so important, because
Yeah.
it will have a knock-on effect to what you do. So for you, how do you do you have a specific morning ritual? What's your morning ritual?
I do. And I started this in February of this year. So when I worked corporate, I had a practice of getting up at 5:30 in the morning. I wanted to have time to do my things in the morning and to take care of myself, right? So what I do now is I get up at 5:25 and I get online at 5:45 and I have a study group that I'm a part of through the Pursuit of Institute coaching. And it is the best thing I have done for myself because we spend 15 minutes reading from a book and we read out loud and we discuss what we read. And right now we're finishing up James Clear's Atomic Habits, which is a fabulous book. I highly recommend it. And then we spend 40 minutes studying our curriculum. And it's all about mindset. Bob Proctor, if you know that name, he's a large
Mhm.
portion of what we study. And then we have 20 minutes and we talk about it. What were our ahas? What did we learn? What came to us that morning through our studies? And then we have 15 minutes and we read from another book. And that study time, and it was Monday through Friday, and then I do it by myself on Saturday and Sunday. It sets me up for the day. It helps me be mentally prepared in a good place for whatever comes my way that day. And during that time, when I start my study in my practice, and everybody could do it differently, is I have an affirmation. I sit and write my affirmation out about 3 minutes. And then I have all my stuff is here. So I'm pointing to all my stuff. So sorry about that. I have a journal and I write down, one page, I just write down the highlights, whatever comes to mind that I want to think about, because then I get it out of my brain onto paper. And that's huge for honing in onto what I'm thinking and to see if there are any paradigms in there. So that's a really important component, writing my affirmations, doing my journaling, and then I start on the content, if you will. And that's
right.
Yeah, that's really important. And then while I'm doing that, I drink water because that's important step to nourishing my body. And then afterwards, I have a protein shake that I do in the morning that I love to drink, and it's full of fruits and vegetables and protein. And I just think that's an important way for me to set my morning. And then
Yeah.
and then I also exercise. So I have the mindset, I'm connecting with emotions, I'm nourishing my body, and I'm moving my body. I do those 4 pillars I talked about earlier for the formula for living optimally. I do that myself every morning. That's how I take care of myself. So thank you for
And
asking
how
me.
has that affected you personally on a personal level?
Oh my gosh. So more energy, more seeing the flow of things, which is one of the universal laws, the law of rhythm. I think that's really important. Having my mind clear. And I have noticed this, especially in my coaching practice, being able to sit with that person. And I don't want to get into coach speak. For me, being present, meaning I'm listening with all of my capacity to that person and what they're saying, I'm better able to show up that way by taking care of myself before I start my day. And I am passionate about that aspect of my morning ritual routine because I know it works and I know I reap benefits, as do the people in my life in interacting with me and my clients when I show up for them fully.
Yeah, I think it's such an important part because it is going to have a. So before, when you were in corporate and having to get up at 5:30, are you saying that you wouldn't have had time to do all of that because you would have had to get to work, presumably? Would you still have had that time to do it?
Movement has been a really important part of my life for the last probably 30 odd years because I had depression and anxiety a lot when I was younger. And so moving my body helps with that. Moving my body has 2 benefits: physical, yes, and mental clarity. So that's really important to me. So when I was working corporate, I did take time to move my body. That was really important. I didn't nourish my body as much. I just started doing that at the last, I'd say, 2 years of nourishing or of working corporate. And I had a trigger. My mom died unexpectedly and in her home, and my husband and I found her after she had passed. And so my mom had some health, she had high cholesterol, and she had a silent heart attack. And through that, I realized she wasn't taking care of herself. And I really it just struck home, as much as I was doing the nutrition aspect wasn't where I wanted it to be. And so after my mom passed away in November, and after that, I became a vegetarian to help sustain and making sure I'm getting more plants in my body, more whole grains, more whole foods. And that has made a big difference. In my program, I don't say a person has to be vegetarian or anything like that. I do emphasize, however, the benefit of having whole foods and plant-based items because most people don't eat enough of those.
Yeah,
And I
sure.
know when we go back to sustainable energy, the plants and the whole grains and so on, whole foods will give you that.
So focusing on the body,
Yes.
focusing on the mind, focusing on what goes in the body, focusing what goes in the mind. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. What I'm
it's
eating
all
and what I'm consuming, right? What I'm consuming
yes.
in general. Is it my thoughts? What am I consuming? Social media? What am I consuming? Music, TV, reading, movies, all the things. That's consumption, right? So what am I putting into my brain and what am I putting into my mouth? And how is it serving me? And being able to identify if something's not serving me, like for instance, I don't eat as much candy, like hardly ever, because sugar doesn't serve my body. I found that out. That might not be true for everybody, and that's okay. But I found out for me, it doesn't serve my body. So I lowered that consumption of sugar and I feel better, right? So it's knowing what works and what doesn't and choosing that.
Yeah, that's it. But if you're not aware, you're never going to change. You're never
Yeah,
going to change.
not at all.
So now you're doing what you love.
Yes.
You're in a place where you're serving the people that you want to serve, plus you're getting other stuff. So you're still in doing what you were doing as well. So it
Yes, which
sounds
I
like
did love doing. So it's
you're in a
win-win all the way
great
around.
win. Wonderful. So now you have your morning ritual. So you get prepped for your day. And then how many hours a day would you say you spend actually on your business?
On my business. It's interesting. I still have a lot of paradigms about time and schedules and time management from corporate, right? And so that's one of the things that I'm trying to flip the script in my mind about. So I usually start about 9 o'clock or so in the morning with what I have going on, and I work until 4 or 5 o'clock. However, right now is baseball season, and two of my grandsons are playing baseball. So I make myself available. I choose that. I choose to make myself available. Like last night, I went and picked up Finnegan from school, brought him home, fed him, and we got to the ball diamond by 5 o'clock so that I could be there. He needed to be there. Mama was with the other two at music lessons. She met us there. My husband came, Daddy came, and we watched and supported Finnegan in his game. I can do that because I choose how I want my schedule to be. I choose how I want my life to be. And for me, having that family time is really important, right?
Yeah. So having that flexibility, would you have been
Yes.
able to do the same if you were still in corporate?
No, because when I was in corporate, I worked away from home 2 to 3 weeks out of the month. So that's how my job rolled. And I was fine with it, but I am even more fine being at home so I can be with my family, with my friends, and the people that I love. I have more
Perfect.
opportunity for that now than I did before.
Excellent. Excellent. And
Yeah.
now I know you've mentioned Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
I'm a great fan. My first one of my first introduction really was one of his programs, and You Were Born Rich, and the goals that I
Yes.
wrote down back then, even though the person who had introduced me to it, I was involved in a network marketing company, and I'm sure they were hoping that my goals would have something to do with the network marketing
Oh,
company.
right.
Well, they
Right.
weren't. Studio to
Uh-huh.
buy a house and have a 4x4 before climate change was a thing. And weirdly enough, 5 years later, I had that. We'd moved to Portugal, we'd moved to the Algarve, new country. That wasn't the plan to have our own fitness studio. So I know this stuff works, but it's weirdly, I actually struggle with it further along because thoughts becoming things, all this talk about thoughts. And
Yes.
like you said earlier, you
Mhm.
mentioned this about, and which is very much about this not thinking, the practicing of just being, like you said, just being really present,
Yes.
really alert. I
Mhm.
think that is what I was misunderstanding. I thought I could had to control on my thoughts. Actually, the opposite, I feel, is almost true. Is actually, or there's a dance between, yes, you've got to focus on your thoughts, but also you need this time to not think
Yeah, to
and
just
just
be, right?
massive. For me, that was absolutely massive. And I still love the Bob Proctor stuff. But for
Right.
you, do you have a favorite? What's your favorite business or self-development book?
Wow. So I am going through You're Born Rich, which is Bob
Okay.
Proctor.
Yep.
And I'm going through that. I have the study, I printed out the study group or study book so I can write through it and all that. One of the things that I really do love is Brene Brown. And she has a book, it's up here in my Dare to Lead. So, Dare to Lead is a fabulous business book, and especially anybody who wants to be a leader. And one of the quotes from that book that I just really embrace is being clear is kind, being unclear is uncline. And I think it's very important that when we're working with people, and I got to manage a small team when I was in corporate, which I enjoyed, is that you need to be clear on your expectations. You need to communicate clearly. And if you're not, that's on you as a leader. You cannot expect your people that you work with to read your mind and to, I would say, anticipate what you want. That doesn't work. You need to be very clear about it and have conversations about what is it that I asked you to do? Maybe not in those words, but to get that response back from that individual so that you understand that they understand what you're expecting of them. And so that's Brene Brown's Dare to Lead. I think that's one of the best
Ah,
business books I can recommend for somebody.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And any other, who are your biggest models or influencers that are out there?
I think one of my biggest influencers, a couple of people, is Brooke Castillo. She owns the Life Coach School. She has a podcast, and that's where I learned the model from, the thought model from. And she doesn't know me, but she's made a big difference in my life. Jody Moore's also a coach, and Corinne Crabtree. To me, those are like my celebrity coaches that I listen to. And I was able to go to a conference in Phoenix last November that was Brooks, and she's dynamic speaker, and I'm also a conference speaker. And when you have that, you fangirl, you have that, oh, I want to be like her, but I want to be me, because being me
Yeah,
is important. I can only bring me anywhere, and I have unique aspects that I bring.
absolutely.
So that is a really, she's just super cool. And so I learned a lot from those three ladies, and I love them, and I listen to their podcasts. So if you guys haven't ever heard of them, they have podcasts. That's great. I also, my coach Cindy Warren with Blue Tree Coaching, I look up to her immensely. She was my first business coach as a coach myself, and she really helped me to understand the business aspect. And one of the things that was really cool, she normalized things for me. Oh, of course you would feel that way. That's very typical. Nothing's gone wrong. That's normal to feel that way. And that was a huge relief, just to know, oh, okay, nothing's gone wrong. This is a thing. All right. So that
Yeah,
was
you're
really helpful.
okay.
Yeah, that was really
Wonderful.
helpful for me. Yeah.
And with your business, what would you say have been what are your top 3 daily frustrations, if you have any,
Oh my
with
word,
regards to growing your business?
that is so very interesting. I am growing my business right now, and one of the things I'm doing is I'm going on Instagram, and I'm growing on my email list. And so one of the things that's frustrating is I'm very good at taking action. In fact, I always have to moderate myself that I give myself time to be, because I am an action person, right? I am doing all the work, putting out content on Instagram, talking about what I do for people and so on. And I have a link, just like everybody, link in my bio. And I have a freebie, and it's managing your mindset. And I have the model in it. So it's waiting for people to sign up. so that they can get that, which in turn helps to grow my email list. And I provide content for them. I talk about neuroplasticity or the motivational triad of the brain. I talk about emotions. This month, we're going to be talking on nutrition, and next month, we'll be moving the body. I educate. That's really important. And that goes to my learning and development background. So, to the point, the frustrating thing is the waiting. I have
Ah,
so many people that I am so excited to meet. I want to meet these professional women who are looking for a solution for their burnout and overwhelm and lack of energy. I'm waiting for them. I can
right.
visualize them in the distance. They're
There's
coming.
bridging that gap.
Yes,
Bridging that gap.
yes. So that's probably the most frustrating thing I would say in my business. It's just the waiting because I'm terribly excited.
You've got the thing. You've got the
Yes,
thing. You've got this thing that's going to help people. It's actually just
yes,
bringing them in.
bringing
So
them
within
in.
your particular industry, what trends do you see occurring in this industry?
I think more and more people recognizing that mindset is a thing, right? I think even a few years ago, people weren't mindset, your thoughts, Matt, what? And so I think that just we've having that shift of acceptance. I think having more science, brain science, neuroscience, if you will, coming in that supports, because there are people that embrace the woo and there are people that don't. And so I think that for the people who don't, having the science to back what our woo is saying, I think it's really important for those people. So we can
Yeah.
embrace, include more folks. And so when I speak to a group, I like to bring in both aspects so that the people whose brains are like, I don't know about this, they can be, no, here's science. It's
Yes.
proven. It's science. It's okay.
So this is going to help things moving forward, do you
Yes.
feel?
Yeah. Oh,
Mm.
yes. I think so a lot. And I think even emotions, my first certification is emotional intelligence and being able to navigate emotions. I grew up, I suppressed my emotions. That's why I had depression. I didn't know how to talk about emotions. I didn't know how to name my emotions. I sometimes didn't even know what I was feeling. And so I think that the more we could talk about emotions, the more we talk about thoughts, and that ties into mental health. The more mental health needs are accepted and made common, and that's the thing. We're so good at treating the body, but our mind and our spirit needs to be treated also sometimes, and that's okay, right? We can do that. We have
Yeah.
knowledge. We can help serve in both areas.
But do you think that people are almost given, I don't want to say bad advice, but it's almost like they feel like there is something wrong with them and that they're broken. Now, with your understanding of the mind, you realize nobody's broken. It's just that
Mm-mm.
we haven't been made aware of how our minds work and what we can do to actually change it. And the
Mm-hmm.
issue with the mental health sort of arena, I feel, is almost like trying to put all these people in boxes. You've
Mm.
got this, you've got that. Whereas if they took your advice of dealing with the 4 pillars and started with a morning ritual. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
things aren't going to happen overnight, but if they were consistent with it over
Mm-hmm.
time, they would feel better. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with them in the first place. Do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's a balance, right? A fine balance, because there are some diagnoses that need to have specific treatment to help serve them the best. And I believe you can couple that with what I'm talking about, the pillars, right? Because
Yes.
that's going to give greater support to whatever's going on with that particular diagnosis. And
Yeah.
that's terrific, right?
It's massive. It's
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
So
That's what we,
to the listeners out there, how would they find you? How can they
yeah.
get hold of your 4 pillars? How
Mhm.
do they get hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so excited for them to reach out to me. So if they go to my website, it's www.cindy, Cindy, Ames, Ames, coaching.com. On there, they will find a link so that they can have my free Managing Your Mindset workbook. And it's a workbook. So there's areas to work in it. Talks about the bridge thoughts. It shows them the model, how it works, all of that. That'll be emailed to them. And then they would get the support from the weekly emails from me to educate them on thoughts and mindset and all that stuff. And then also if they would follow me, and I'm at Cindy Ames Coach on Instagram. So Cindy Ames
Fantastic.
Coach Instagram. Yeah, those are the two best ways. And if they're like, golly, this sounds like somebody I'd like to talk with, on my website, there's a link and they can schedule a call with me. It's a 30-minute just getting to know you call, because I think it's really important people know when you call to set time with a coach, you're figuring out if they're a good fit for you and they're figuring out if you're a good fit for them. If I have somebody who wanted to have coaching on something that is, I don't know what it would be, but there could be people who have intense needs that I'm like, oh, I'm not the best coach for you. We need to look for somebody else that would better suit you. Then we need to do that. And likewise, they need to figure out if we connect. I think that's really important to have that connection when you're working with a coach, because I will tell you, when a person has a coach, there's a lot of trust involved in that. And they share things. I can't tell you how many times I've cried in front of my coach, right? And she just gives me that space and that support while I do that. And I've had clients do that with me, and that's okay. So there needs to be definitely trust. And that's what that phone call is for. Let's just get to know each other and see if we'd be a good fit for what you want to have happen.
Excellent. Excellent. Yes, and that's exactly how it should be, isn't it? There is the
Yes.
right coach for absolutely everybody.
Yes.
If you would like to know more, please get in touch with Cindy. I love what you're doing. I'm so on that.
Thank
It
you.
is that combination. It's so important. And the thing is, I suppose, it's such an intangible thing, coaching,
Right.
that some people, it's because it's intangible, they can be wary of doing it. However, the only way you're going to know that this is working is through the doing. It's through the experiencing. You could have the best sales page written, you could have the best, it's irrelevant. It's all irrelevant. You're only going to know when you're actually going and doing it. Then you experience it. And when you know, that's when it really is empowering, because you realize that you don't want to go back. And look, I can easily get complacent, just like everybody. And when I'm not doing my morning ritual, because I can be consistent, and then sort of something tends to happen and it is a distraction, and I can fall off the bandwagon, and I always get back on, because I notice the difference when I'm not doing, which is even more proof in the pudding, right?
Yes.
Because it just has a knock-on effect to the rest of your day. And I love that. It's all about being in. Who wants to have a battle of really working hard or really struggling? Life is so much easier when you're in the flow, and life doesn't have to be that struggle. But it's all about mindset. It is all about switching that mindset. If you feel that you need a little bit of guidance through this, then please get in touch with Cindy. Thank you so much for your time today, Cindy. It's been wonderful speaking with you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Karen. This has been just the highlight. So thank you. What a great way to start my morning.
Of course, it's morning for you. It's not for me.
Yes. Time difference.
But this is it. It's beautiful to be able to speak to people wherever they're at in the world. And this is the beauty. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter where Cindy is. She can still help.
Yeah.
So take a look, get booked in on her timetable, and see the results happen for themselves. So thanks once again. And to everybody else, I will be back on Monday with a coffee with Karen. Bye for now.
Coffee with Karen podcast, a weekly chat show discussing everything from holistic health to current affairs from a mental, physical and spiritual perspective. Get your weekly cup of positivity with a sprinkling of woo-woo.